Good evening, everyone. Dobry wieczór всем. I want to say a word about Michael. I'm seeing the film for the first time this evening, but I had been involved in this process going back to the early 1970s. And I had spent time in the Soviet Union. That's a different story. On an exchange program, a US-Soviet exchange program in 1974, and had actually been a teacher in spецшкола номер 45, спецшкола в станции академическая в Москве. And after that, I came to Rome and began working, and then I began working in Vienna, and I began going to the Südbahnhof and the train to Orte that you saw, and flying then on what was Pan American Airlines, which no longer exists, which the older generation of Soviet Jews in the 70s and 80s would fly on. And since they didn't have people who spoke any Russian, I would travel with them, speak to them on the microphone, on the planes, explain how they would enter the United States, and then eventually, of course, Nayana, you saw Mark Handelman, and others would take over. But what was also interesting to me was in all of these years, essentially no one had ever asked about the process on the granular level, on the emotional level, on the psychological level. What actually happened once people asked for a visa in the Soviet Union, once they received it, once they went to the Dutch embassy, which was representing Israeli interests in Moscow, and began the formal process of leaving. What happened to them along the way? What happened when they got permission, if they got permission? What happened at customs, whether they took the train or they took the plane? What happened when they first arrived in Vienna? How did they survive? How did their children survive? Where did they live? How did they live? Who helped them? How did they get to Rome? All of these things, it struck me, no one ever asked. And then along came Michael, helped by Kojeko, and he asked. And in watching this film tonight, and I trust you all understand it because many of you lived it, this is as close as I've ever seen to a reenactment, if you will, of not just the physical journey, but the psychological, emotional, spiritual journey along the way, unvarnished, no Hollywood elements, no romantic scenes thrown in just to keep the attention of the audience. This is what it was. So Michael, congratulations to you on, really. Congratulations, first of all, on paying tribute. Your parents are here tonight, I assume? Where? Because I sense this is, first of all, a tribute to Michael's parents. Secondly, that it's probably a future legacy to Michael's children, so that they understand how they were not dropped by parachute here in America. There was a physical journey that required an extraordinary act of courage on the part of someone, their grandparents, to decide to jump into the unknown because the known was simply no longer acceptable, fathomable. And so, Michael, you captured it, and you captured the stages along the way, and I hope this film gets the distribution it needs here in this country, in Israel and elsewhere, because you've captured history here, and it's a very important chapter in our history.
Thank you, David.